Now we can welcome Betty. Betty is a mobile engineer who builds beautiful and user-friendly iOS apps with diverse and inclusive teams for Van Move in Amsterdam. She has worked in engineering roles from entrepreneur to engineer and in disciplines from electronic systems to mobile applications. Trying to lower the barrier of entry for aspiring developers, she participates in talks and also mentors iOS developers, just like you can see right now. And fun fact about her, she is French, but has never seen frogs or snails on her plate. So now let's have Betty take over the stage.
Thank you, Navati. Thank you very much. And what can I add? It's at Women Who Code next week. The 6th of June, you can join us at the watch party for the WWDC. So
Yes.
it will be as usual, wonderful and really kind. So come join us at Women Who Code Mobile. It will be fun, professional, and you will learn a lot of things today. So it is the 8th one on 10 session. And if you want to join me, ask question or advice or more information on a Woman Who Code, betty.dev, there is all the link to join me. So just a quick reminder on the spirit of this study group organized by Women Who Code Mobile. The goal is to follow the Apple Learning Platform and to follow a tutorial but by Apple, step by step, do it together. So as I already mentioned, it is the 8th one. So you can see the other session on the YouTube channel of Women Who Code if you want. And the goal is also to give a routine each week and to feel free to ask a question and to join our Slack group to also feel confident on that iOS framework, which is SwiftUI. We will focus on SwiftUI. Obviously, you will also learn some basic of Xcode and the UI kits, and we are creating an app, an iOS app. And so it is called Schrödinger. The app is, the goal is to manage daily meetings, and you can find the link to this tutorial here. And the input of this SwiftUI series is to take all the chapters of the tutorials. You can see all the chapter here, and the input for today, the input is concurrency. And more precisely, here you can find, you can see the chapter of the tutorial, and more precisely, we will do the four focus. It is about concurrency and handling error also. So let's do it. Just before starting the concurrency part, I noticed that the last session we have done the persistence data, and I noticed that at the end of the tutorial there it is mentioned if you want to experiment. I zoom in. Yeah, if you want to experiment the command line to run the simulator, it is written the open terminal and so on, but you have to be aware that you should make, it is not written, you should make a little step, which is to go, in order to be able to launch this command line, you have to go to Xcode, Preference, Location, and here at Command Line Tools, select Xcode. If you because if you there is nothing, if you have update your Xcode, as everybody do it, this line is empty. So if you copy paste Xcrun, etc., it will not work until you select, you make a link between Xcode and the terminal. So now we
Betty,
can start.
could you
Yes,
increase the font size a bit, maybe with Command and plus?
like this.
Yeah, this is better, or maybe one level more if possible.
Like this.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah,
Oh,
thank you.
thank you, Navati. Yes, so if you want to find that explanation in my GitHub, here, Betty Gaudier example, you can find a wiki, and I have put this explanation in the wiki, so you can do it by read it. So now we can continue in just before the concurrency. There is a yes, detail on the adopting new API feature in the tutorial. So the goal is, it's really simple. It's to be sure that you use the proper version of iOS here, because if you do not use 15, you will have a big problem to use concurrency, because it's a new thing, so it will not working properly. So for that, this tutorial remind how to have the proper version of iOS. And also, it's interesting, if you want to use concurrency in an application, an old application, because you want to, you have the code in your mind, so you have to put just if available iOS 15 and write the code for concurrency in it. And if the phone have the good version, it will allow to use it. So this is what this article is about. And now just a quick remind on concurrency. So the last week we use persistent data, and here, so SwiftUI 5.5 includes a new async and await keywords that enable you to more easily write performance asynchronous code. In this article, you will learn how to define and call asynchronous functions and explore how structure concurrency simplify complex asynchronous function. So to keep here, you recall the long compilation function you wrote in persistent data last week. So we wrote that function with do, couch, load, and you define an asynchronous function by adding the async keyword. We will define after the parameter list and before the return arrow. You have this example, and you can call an asynchronous function using the await keyword, because the awaiting code can suspend execution. You can use await only in asynchronous context, such as inside the body of another synchronous function. You can see this example below. And I go a little bit fast in order to go directly, concretely in the code. So here you have an example. And the new thing also is the tasks word that you will also use in a few minutes. And so SwiftUI provide a task modifier that you can use to execute an asynchronous function when a view appear. Just this forget. So the system automatically cancel tasks when a view disappear. So less code than before with await, with concurrency, and much more readable. So now let's go. Here, as usual, you can find the project file at the beginning of the project and at the end. And as usual, you can find on my GitHub the code that we have just finished in all the session that we have done. So here you have to, because we all have started the project. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Betty, if you could increase the font size in Xcode as well, maybe by a couple of, yeah.
Windows.
Command plus.
Oopla.
As in like, yeah, the font size. I think if you do Command plus, it should work here as well.
In the code, it's working, but you in
okay, in the code.
Yeah,
okay,
in the code.
Then that works. That works. Then.
Thank you. And yes, as we have started the session, I think we are all at the same iOS. But if you want to check, you have to go in your target and in general to check if you are in iOS 15. Really important. So here it is mentioned the importance to do it in order to have access to that kind of way of doing asynchronous things with concurrency. So now in Scrum store, in my model in Scrum store, create a static func. So just above the load one. So you have the old way of doing just here. And now we will create a static func load, but this time it is async with a throw. And we will create an array of daily Scrum. Create a static func named load that return an array of Scrum. And adding the async keyword after the parameter list indicate that the function is asynchronous. For throwing functions, write async before the throw keyword. The compiler throws an error that you will fix in the next step. So call with check throwing continuation using the await keyword. So now it is the magic part. So try await with check throwing this one, continuation, and here no parentheses. I prefer directly to remove this one and put the curly bracket. And continuation in. Continuation suspend the loan function, then passes a continuation into a closure that you provide. A continuation is a value that represents the code after an awaited func. Inside the closure, we will call the legacy load function with a compilation handler. So load here, result in. Recall that compilation handler receives a result daily Scrum error enumeration. And when we have that kind of result, we have a switch statement to handle the result case. So inside here, you can make switch results. The compiler throw an error. And I think I will fix like this. Yes, I prefer to start with a failure. So how you follow the tutorial. So upon failure, send the error to the continuation closure. So in case of failure, let an error. And what's happened? There is a resume throwing what an error. The system throws an error when the async task resume. Continuation have method for returning a value, returning a result, and throwing an error. Review check continuation for more information. And upon success, now we have also the success case. So case that success. Let Scrum. And what's happened, it's also continuation that resume, not this one, not throwing, but returning a Scrum. The array of Scrums becomes the result of the which check string continuation call when the async task resumes. Now that you have created an async interface for the legacy load method, you will apply the same pattern to create an async version of the save method. So now same thing, but for the save method. And we will create just above here, we'll create a static func above the save. So we have load, we have save just here. The save function returns a value that callers of the function may not use. The discardable result attributes disabled warning about the unused return value. So don't forget to specify that you shouldn't have to use it, and create save. And this is Scrums with an array of daily Scrum with my sync that's throw, and the result is yoo-hoo, an int. The compiler throw an error that you will fix in the next step again. We already did that. We have the try await. We call, so here, try await with check string continuation. I prefer to directly put my curly brackets. I put continuation in save this time. Save time, Scrum, and compilation will put the result. I remove this part. In the closure, call the legacy save function with a completion holder. Finish the function by, as we already done, by switching over the result, following the same pattern as the load function from the previous section. Copy paste is my friend. We try to build command B. Wonderful, it's building. use now. Is there a little sentence? No, nothing. So use task to call asynchronous method. In this section, you will update Scrumdinger to use a new async version of the load and save function. For that, we'll go at the top of the at the top of the first entry of the app, and instead of all these parts, we'll just put tasks. Task create a new asynchronous context that you will use to call Scrum store.save now. And in order to call it, we will use a do catch statement. So I create my do, my catch, my catch, and inside I will call try, await, Scrum. The good one is store.save, save Scrum, and it is store that scrums. Here you can ignore the return value because the discardable result attribute annotate the save function. In the catch closed, we will put fatal error, but we will change it later because fatal error in code is not a good way of writing codes. No, there's a better way, but we will change it later. And SwiftUI provides a task modifier that you can use to associate an async task with a view. You will use the modifier to load scrums when the system creates the navigation view. So instead, you can replace here. I put just after the curly bracket, to know where. So in place of that on appear, we'll put task. And the do, the catch, and inside my do, I will call store Scrum. We'll try, await the Scrum store here, and this time load part. And the same thing for the fatal error. Fatal error. It's what is it? It is an error loading scrums.
I think it's saving scrums. Oh, sorry, my bad. Never mind, you're right.
Yes, it's loading for this part.
Yeah.
It is not a good point. It means that you're following. And yes, it's save for the task and inside the navigation view, and we have to load after. In this tutorial, you've modified the function in Scrum Store to support async await. You can use strategies you've learned here to update your own app or create your own async version of callback-based API in third-party libraries. And now we can launch the application. And the thing is, for example, I can UX design team and Oxblood, and there is Navati, and there is Dual, for example, and it's working. If I go to the home screen and return, it's working. And if I launch again, if I build again the application, it's working. And also be aware that it's the way that we acted. I mean, we are building since Xcode. You have to be aware that where you're acting as a user, you only launch the application from the phone, and it's so it will not work if you try to add information here and you don't disappear the screen if you launch directly from Xcode, because it's for the user behavior, not the developer behavior. So now everything is okay. So handling errors. So the goal is, yes, to build a new screen and to catch more properly the error in the app. So for that, we will, in the model group, create a new Swift file named error wrapper. So in my model, command N, it is just a Swift file, not a SwiftUI. It's a model error wrapper. So create it, and we will create a struct, the same name, and this is a struct with data. So we will create that conform to identifiable error. Oh yes, error up struct. There is ID conform to UUID because it's identifiable. So you have to add a unique identifier. So let's get this string. I have to have an init. So you can use the error protocol to explicitly assign a type to an error handling property. Scrollinger display the guidance string when the associated error occurs. Create initializers that accept an error and a guidance string, and that assign a default value for ID. So now I create an init with my UUID equal UUID is also my error guidance. It is a string, and as you already know, and I've done a lot of time, all the safe things, guidance equal guidance, the initializer provide review data to the error view that you create in the next session. Now we'll create a new Swift UI view, command N, this one SwiftUI, this time SwiftUI view, which is called simply error view. And here the view will present the error and guidance in an error wrapper structure. So for that we need constants that it's called error wrapper conform to error wrapper, and also error, yes, the compiler generator, because as usual the initial in the preview doesn't include the required parameters. Sometimes you need to provide realistic sample data to view to use. We already done, we put some constant. In the next few steps, you will initialize the preview with an error wrapper. So for that, we create an enum in the preview, enum sample error conform to error, and there is one type, error required. Create a new static property that initialize an error wrapper in the error required property. Copy paste. It's time up. And pass the error wrapper to the error view. Now I can add wrapper. Next, you will start building the display error. Oops. Yes, here I can Command B and resume here to see the beautiful new screen. So what did I miss? Maybe too fast. No, yeah, my VStack. And at the end of the potential, I fix the compiler error. Now, makeup to the screen. We'll embed this with command click left in embed in VStack. And in the view body, embed the existing text in a VStack with a spacer. We will add a spacer, this, and a little padding, and we will add just one padding to the VStack. And in the VStack, display an error message with a title font and padding. So instead of hello world, an error has occurred. Occurred. And for this text, we need a padding on the bottom, not in the good order. And the font that we decided is a title. To have is a title. Add a text view to display the error description with the A-line font. So the text with the error wrapper, error description, localized description, and a different font this time to have a beautiful aspect. And I take the spacer, not here, but here, in order to push at the top all the text. Okay, and maybe without this line. Text to display the error description with the A-line font. Error provide a localized script description. If the error user info dictionary doesn't provide a value for the dictionary key, the system constructs a localized string from the domain and code. There's always something to display. Now, add a text view to display the guidance with a caption, font, and a padding. This time, I will not hit the spacer. So text, error wrapper, guidance with a different font, caption, this one, and with a padding at this time on the top. Is it okay? I put all of these, Control E, that's okay. You will add a material to get a blur effect behind the view, like inserting a frosted glass layer between the view and its background. Makeup again, so background, ultra thin material, and with a corner radius of 16. Blurring the background, focus attention on the error. Is it okay with my preview? There's nothing more. Okay, beautiful. The preview here is the same. Okay, now we have created a view, and you generally want to avoid disrupting the flow of your app by covering the screen with a model view by presenting an error is an exception. In the exception, you will use data bindings to trigger a modal presentation of an error view. The user dismisses the modal view to continue using your app. So wrap the VStack in the navigation view. So I take the command, click left, no, command click left, and there is no navigation view. So first I embed in a VStack, and after I rename navigation view, this VStack, and also I have to wrap the VStack navigation view and change the navigation title to display inline. So above, oh, Control E, yes, above my corner radius, I will have a nav bar, or a nav bar title display mode, this one inline. Okay, create a new property named dismiss here in the environment part, dismiss. Sometimes I'm made mistake with dot var dismiss. Oops, stop warning. Did I made a mistake? Environment dismiss prevar. Maybe I forget a curly bracket. Oh, it's okay. Okay, it was before, just at the beginning of the environment word. It was compiling with an error. With the environment property wrapper, you can read the value that the view's environment stores, such as the view presentation mode, scene phase, visibility, or color scheme. We have already mentioned environment in the third or second study group. In this case, you accept the view's dismiss structure and call it like a function to dismiss the view. So create a toolbar with one toolbar item, the dismiss button. So we will see in live just after the navigation, we will add a toolbar. I think, yeah, it's working. A toolbar. In this toolbar, we'll add a toolbar item. We'll have place, a placement, navigation bar on the left, and the content return on it. Yes. Up. Yeah, but there's nothing. Okay, we have to put a button at the bottom, a button with the title of dismiss, and you can see the button, and with the action dismiss. Dismiss is a structure. You can call a structure like a function if it includes call as function. So now we have the dismiss button, and in the Scrolling app, add an optional state variable named error wrapper. The default value of an optional is nil. When you assign a value to the state variable, SwiftUI updates the view. So here we will just above the other variable. This one is private var error wrapper. Whoops. We've got error wrapper. Replace the fatal, at least fatal error here. Yeah. So copy paste. And also in the load section here. Apply the fatal with assignment to the new error wrapper. Add a sheet. I will do it like that. Yes. Add a sheet with binding to the error wrapper, and yes, at the same time, replace the fatal errors. Now, we just after the task, so just click after the curly bracket in order to know where is the end of it. It's an item binding, so you remember you have to put $sign and to have error wrapper. It's not a content. I made a mistake, but it's on dismiss, so I can check the good one or write it if you want. Let me show you item this one. This is item on dismiss. So again, $sign error wrapper. On dismiss we have what's happened when we dismiss with binding to the error wrapper. The modal sheet provides the closure to execute code when the user dismisses the modal sheet, and the closure to supply a view to present modally. So my wrapper, where is my dismiss? There is different way to write it, so I will conform to, yeah, we can add in the parentheses, or okay, so player one, play again. We'll write it like this. Depends, there's with parentheses or only curly bracket at the end. It depends on the if there is a closure or not. So here we'll put it like this, and inside there is curly bracket. Inside my dismiss, I will copy paste at the end. So I would like to put what's happened and my wrapper in an error view depend on a error wrapper, which is called my wrapper. Here it's missing an action, so an error occurs when accessing the app's data. As a fix, you would supply some sample data when the user dismisses the error view. And on the dismiss closure, assign sample data to the scrum array. Load sample data when the user dismisses the model. So here we'll have data, and we'll register. We'll take this data from the daily scrum sample data. I will command A, Control I. Now that Scoliga can display error when the unexpected happens, you will simulate an error to test all the app's response. I will not do this part. Why? Because I don't have the proper version of Mac. But I will launch the application to show that it's working properly. And if you have the 15 version of Mac, you can follow this command line to open the file. So you have to be careful when you copy this command line. This part come example data here. You have to take your own bundle identifier. For me, it's dev.betty.scrollinger, and certainly it is different for you if you do not have take my zip file, or if you have download the app for the Apple tutorial, it's this one. But check in the bundle identifier. And so the goal is to open this file, to change a line, and in order to make to simulate an error. And that's it for me today. Next time we will learn how to draw a timer, the timer view.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was so informative. And I think, yeah, this was session 8 and we have 2 more. So the next one is, sorry, you said timer? What was that?
Is a
Oh,
draw.
timer view.
Yeah, it's a draw.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a lot of application, you need to draw to make draw view. So yes, very useful too. Thank you, Navati.
Thank you so much, Betty. Thanks for